Yeah, we do quite a bit of Hapuka fishing down here, or groper fishing, and you can catch them from pretty much from Three Kings all the way down to Stewart Island, down the whole length of the country. But in Wellington we've got a really good fishery, and it's quite often on a nice day like you'll see today. It was well worth going out. The gear we were using today was Shimano Beastmaster electric reels, and it had 80-pound braid on it, and braids really revolutionised the way we fish, just because there's no stretch and you can feel every little bite, see every little bite that you get down there. So, and then of course teed up with the technology of the electric reel, it makes it really easy to deep drop, as we call it, and to get your lines down 200 metres without much effort and pull them back up with even less effort. If I'm out trolling, I might be out trolling for albacore or heading to a spot, and you do mark rocks, and they might be 200 metres, 300 metres deep. The joy with an electric is you can go back to those marks and you can just prospect them. You can send down a bait really quickly with little effort, basically. So that's how I found a lot of my groper marks. I've just driven over them and thought, oh, that looks a little bit fishy. Gone back the next day, put an electric down, caught a puka, oh yep, cool. Caught another puka, well that's good. And then gone back and caught fish on them consistently since then. So that's where an electric really comes into its own, is the things you can do with it in the way of sussing out new grounds and new spots. So this is the rig we've got going on, guys. It's real simple, 2 dropper hooks on crane swivels, 300 pound, straight to our sinker. And nothing special, big slabs of car wire, bigger the better. The main bait I like to use for groper is car wire, as you saw today, but pillies and squid, you can't really go wrong. Everything seems to like pillies and squid. The hardest part, straight through the front of the face there, and that's good bait because Hooker's obviously got big mouths, and we want a nice solid bait so the scarpies don't annoy us too much. Yeah, just choose a nice squid. Just pin that over the top as well. That's our baits. Oh, beautiful. Some people like to tie breakaways on the sinkers, but the sinker's actually the most expensive part. So I'd rather, especially if you're making your own rigs, I'd rather lose the whole lot or have a better chance of getting the sinker back, if that makes sense. So what I always do is I stop where I want to be. I'll leave a line like what we've got here of what way we've been drifting. So we just head back up that. So now we know if we want to be fishing where our 2 little marks are here, we've caught groper before, we want to make sure that we start up above it and drift over it. There's no point starting on top of it, because by the time your lines get to the bottom you'll be past it. So you want to actually come up tight of it, drop it up tight and then drift back through. So what we're looking for on the sounder is basically these little blue blobs coming in here. They look quite fishy, but the main thing we're looking at, and I think it applies with any sort of fishing you do, not to look for fish as such unless you're looking for a school of bait fish or whatever like that. You look at the structure. So here you can see we've got a nice hole, nice square drop off, and we've got a nice bank, and we know from our previous drifts on this side that we're going to drift up the screen, so we know we're going to drift up this bank. So we want to get our baits into this hole and then slowly drift up. The thing we're really focusing on for groper is these ones down on the bottom, and these little blue triangles are quite possibly puka. Quite often if you've got a 200 metre bank and it's sloping off down to 300 metres, they like to sit along that drop rather than on the level, so it's always a good place to start looking. If I'm going to head to a spot where I want to groper fish, I'll try and get there about an hour before the tide or 2 hours before the tide, and I'll fish that tail end of the tide and through the slack water, and then just as the tide starts to turn again, and then quite often it'll start moving too quickly to get a bait down to the bottom. It's all about just keeping in contact with your sinkers and making sure you're in the area. If it's miles out the back and you've got a big angle on it, sometimes it's hard to actually tell that you're on the bottom, and if you're not on the bottom you're not fishing. So that's the idea with just keeping right on top of them. You let one line get out for a little bit and get a bit of an angle on it, and then you drop the other line out, so it's, in theory, when you're looking at the ones like that and ones like that, so it should avoid tangles. So those lines now are perfect, straight up and down. And as we're drifting along, we're drifting up a bank, but we just keep an eye on it because it is a snaggy area, so as soon as those rods start to touch the bottom, we'll give them a few winds and keep that sinker pretty much on the bottom but a little bit up. If you snag up, grab your rod out and point your rod straight down the line. Never try and pull a snag out with your rod bending. Always point it straight towards the water, even if you need to drop it into the water, and just hold the reel, lock it up. And 9 times out of 10 it'll pull out that way. Yep, sweet bro. With these circle hooks, I use them for all my fishing now. You basically just need to apply the weight.
Yep.
So you let them bite and then give them a few winds and a bit of a lift if you are holding the rod, and that's enough to set the hook. You don't want to strike them out of their mouth.
Pull the
hook straight out.
Yeah.
So, but I use circle hooks for everything now. The main reason people do like catching grouper is A, that they taste really good, and B, there's a lot of fish. So if you go out and you get it right and you get one fish or 2 fish, there's a lot of fish there, and it can feed one big fish can feed a whole family for a week. So there's certainly a lot of fish there, and yeah, like I said, of course it tastes good, and yeah, people seem to love it.
If you want to catch more fish, you really need to head out with a professional. The likes of a charter, particularly in Wellington, Matt from Black Pearl, really good at what they do. They're out there every day, they know exactly what they're doing, they put you on the spot. I learned a lot today. I go puka fishing quite a bit, and even Matt was still teaching me quite a few new tricks and tips, particularly around driving the boat that I hadn't really learnt before. But anyone can go and learn this stuff, but you have to go out with someone that knows exactly what they're doing. And these sorts of charters are available countrywide. Even if you're an experienced fisherman, you've got your own boat, you're out there all the time, you can certainly improve on what you know by going out with someone that knows what they're doing. So the majority of the commercial sector in New Zealand, particularly with the charter fishermen, likes of Coast Guard and whatnot, they're all running Yamaha. There's a reason for that. They are the most reliable motor. As Matt has said, they really need any work apart from a service. Maritime Police, Coast Guard, NIWA and Wellington are all great customers of ours, but all they ever need is a standard service. There's never any more work. These guys are going out in some of the worst conditions, and they rely on Yamaha to get them there and back.